The lobby of the Grand Harbor Hotel gleamed under the soft lighting, all polished marble and modern elegance. Rain streaked the floor-to-ceiling windows, blurring the city lights outside into watercolor smudges. It was just past midnight, and Emma Walsh was 3 hours into her shift at the reception desk. At 26, Emma had worked a lot of jobs. Waitress, retail clerk, barista, office temp. This reception position was supposed to be temporary, too. Just something to pay the bills while she figured out what came next. She'd dropped out of art school 2 years ago when her mother got sick, using her tuition money for medical bills instead. Her mother had recovered, thank God, but Emma's dreams of being an illustrator had gotten lost somewhere in the shuffle of survival. Now she worked the night shift at a luxury hotel, checking in wealthy guests and pretending she belonged in their world. She wore a crisp white blouse with a red necktie, her blonde hair styled in neat waves that took 20 minutes every evening to perfect. She smiled professionally at people who spent more on one night's stay than she made in a week. The automatic doors slid open, and Emma looked up from her computer. A man walked in, and despite her professional composure, she felt her breath catch. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that fell in slightly wet waves around his face. He wore a charcoal gray suit that was clearly expensive, though it was rain-soaked and rumpled. But it was his eyes that struck Emma most. Dark, intense, and carrying something that looked like exhaustion mixed with barely controlled emotion. He approached the desk, and Emma noticed he walked with the careful control of someone holding themselves together through sheer willpower. "Good evening," Emma said, defaulting to her professional script. "Welcome to the Grand Harbor Hotel. How can I help you?" "I need a room." His voice was rough, strained. "Your best suite. For tonight, maybe longer. I'm not sure yet." "Of course, sir. Do you have a reservation?" "No, I need somewhere to stay. Tonight. Right now." He pulled out a black American Express card and set it on the marble counter. "Whatever it costs." Emma picked up the card. The name read Alexander Moretti. She typed it into the system, and her eyes widened slightly at what came up. Alexander Moretti, CEO of Moretti Enterprises. Net worth estimated in the hundreds of millions. There were several articles linked to his profile. The most recent, from just hours ago, Tech mogul's engagement ends dramatically, and Moretti wedding called off at rehearsal dinner. Emma glanced at him with new understanding. That explained the rumpled suit and the haunted look in his eyes. "I'll need to see identification, please, Mr. Moretti," she said gently. He handed her his driver's license without a word. As Emma processed the booking, she was acutely aware of him standing there, radiating tension and pain. This close, she could see water droplets still clinging to his hair, could see his jaw was clenched tight. "The Royal Suite is available," Emma said. "It's our finest accommodation, with a separate living area, king bed, soaking tub, and a view of the harbor." "Fine. Perfect. Whatever." Emma completed the transaction with practiced efficiency. "You're all set, Mr. Moretti. Room 1847. The elevator is just to your right and—" She paused, noticing he had no luggage. No bag. Nothing but the clothes he was wearing and his wallet. "Sir, do you have any bags?" "No," he said it flatly. "I left everything. I just walked out." Emma's heart squeezed. Whatever had happened at that rehearsal dinner, it had been bad enough that this man had walked out of his own wedding events with nothing but the suit on his back. "I understand," she said softly. Then, making a decision that probably violated several company policies, she added, "Mr. Moretti, if you'll give me just a moment, I might be able to help with a few necessities." She left the desk and went to the back office, where they kept complimentary amenity kits for guests who arrived without luggage. She grabbed the largest one, then added a few extra items, a plush hotel bathrobe, slippers, toiletries, even a couple of bottles of water from the mini-fridge. When she returned, Alexander was still standing at the desk in exactly the same position, staring at nothing. "Here," Emma said, placing the items on the counter. "Basic necessities. The robe and slippers are complimentary, and there's a 24-hour room service menu in your suite. If you need anything else, anything at all, please don't hesitate to call down." Alexander looked at the items, then at Emma. For the first time, he really seemed to see her. "Thank you. That's very kind." "You're welcome. And Mr. Moretti?" Emma lowered her voice. "I don't know what you're going through tonight, but I hope you find some peace in your stay with us." Something shifted in his expression. His eyes, which had been carefully blank, suddenly showed a flash of raw pain. "Peace, yeah, that would be nice." He gathered the items and headed toward the elevator. Emma watched him go, her heart aching for this man she didn't know. Rich or not, pain was pain. Heartbreak was heartbreak. The next few hours of Emma's shift passed slowly. She checked in 2 more guests, dealt with a noise complaint on the 3rd floor, and caught up on emails. But her mind kept drifting back to Alexander Moretti and the devastation in his eyes. At 3 a.m., the phone at the reception desk rang. Emma answered professionally. "Front desk, this is Emma speaking. This is Alexander Moretti in room 1847. His voice sounded even rougher than before. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I can't sleep. Is there anywhere in the hotel that's open? A bar or restaurant?" "I'm afraid not at this hour, sir. But room service is available 24 hours. A long pause. "Right, okay, thank you. Mr. Moretti?" Emma said before he could hang up. "If you need company, if you just need someone to talk to, the lobby is very quiet right now. You're welcome to come down. I make excellent coffee." Another pause. "You do that? Isn't that against the rules?" "Probably," Emma admitted. "But you look like you could use a friend tonight, and I happen to be available." 20 minutes later, Alexander appeared in the lobby wearing the hotel bathrobe over his dress pants, his feet in the hotel slippers. His hair was still damp, now from a shower rather than rain. He looked slightly less shell-shocked, but no less sad. Emma had made coffee in the small break room and set up 2 cups at a quiet corner of the lobby, away from the reception desk, but still within earshot in case other guests needed her. "This is above and beyond hotel service," Alexander said, sitting down across from her. "Consider it human service instead." Emma pushed a cup toward him. "Cream and sugar are there if you want them." He added both, took a sip, and seemed to relax infinitesimally. "This is good. Thank you." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Alexander said, "I suppose you saw the articles. About why I'm here. I saw enough to understand you're going through something difficult. That's a diplomatic way to put it." He laughed bitterly. "I was supposed to get married this weekend. We had the rehearsal dinner tonight. 200 guests, everyone I know, everyone who matters in my world. And during dinner, I overheard my fiancée talking to her sister in the hallway outside the private dining room. She was laughing, saying she couldn't believe she'd pulled it off, that marrying me was the deal of the century, that she'd give it 5 years before divorcing me and taking half my fortune." Emma's eyes widened. "Oh my God." "Yeah," Alexander stared into his coffee. "Turns out she never loved me. She loved my money, my connections, the lifestyle I could provide. She was marrying me for exactly the reasons I'd always feared someone would marry me, and I was too stupid or too desperate to see it." "You're not stupid," Emma said firmly. "You loved her. You trusted her. That's not stupid. That's brave. Feels pretty stupid right now." He looked up at Emma. "I confronted her, right there in front of everyone. She didn't even deny it. Just looked annoyed that I'd found out before the wedding instead of after. Like I'd spoiled her plan." His hands tightened around the coffee cup, so I left. Walked out in the middle of my own rehearsal dinner. I've been walking for hours. I don't even know how I ended up here." "I'm so sorry," Emma said, meaning it. "That's a betrayal I can't even imagine. The worst part is, I was happy. These past 6 months planning the wedding, I thought I'd finally found her. The person who loved me for me, not for the money or the business or the connections. I thought Catherine was different." He laughed bitterly again. "Joke's on me." Emma was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Can I tell you something? About why I'm working the night shift at a hotel reception desk?" "Please." "I'd love to think about anyone's problems but my own. Be alone with it. Maybe that was presumptuous, but... 2 years ago, I was in art school. It was my dream. I was going to be an illustrator, create children's books, make art that made people happy. Then my mom got sick, cancer. The medical bills were enormous. So I dropped out, used my tuition money to help pay for treatment, and started working every job I could find. Emma looked down at her hands. My mom recovered, thank God. But my dreams kind of got lost along the way. I'm 26, and I'm starting to think I'll never get back to the life I wanted. But you're still working. Still going forward, because I have to. But sometimes I wonder if having to is enough. Emma met his eyes. My point is, we both had plans that fell apart. Yours fell apart tonight in a really painful public way. Mine fell apart slowly over 2 years. But we're both here, at 3 a.m., drinking coffee in a hotel lobby and trying to figure out what comes next. Alexander studied her face. You're not what I expected when I walked in here tonight. What did you expect? Just another hotel employee doing a job. Instead, I got someone who actually gives a damn. He paused. Why did you invite me down here? You could have just let me suffer alone in my room. Because I saw your face when you checked in. I saw someone in pain, and I thought maybe you shouldn't be. It wasn't. It was exactly what I needed. Alexander's voice was thick. I have hundreds of contacts in my phone. Business associates, so-called friends, family. But I couldn't think of a single person I wanted to call tonight. Not one person I trusted enough to be this vulnerable with. And then a hotel receptionist I've known for an hour offers me coffee and compassion, and suddenly I can breathe again. That's pretty messed up, isn't it? It's pretty human, Emma said gently. Sometimes it's easier to be honest with a stranger. There's no history, no judgment, no expectations. Just two people being real with each other. They talked until dawn. About heartbreak and disappointment and the gap between the lives we plan and the lives we end up living. Alexander told her about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness at the top, about always wondering if people liked him or just his money. Emma told him about her art, about the children's book she'd been working on before she had to quit school, about the sketchbook she kept hidden in her locker because she was embarrassed to still have dreams she couldn't afford to pursue. Can I see it? Alexander asked. Your sketchbook? You really want to? I really want to. Emma retrieved the sketchbook from the back office. She felt vulnerable handing it over like she was exposing a secret part of herself. Alexander opened it carefully, studying each page with genuine attention. Emma, these are beautiful, he said finally. These are really genuinely beautiful. This character, this little rabbit, the story you're telling. It's charming and sweet and exactly the kind of thing kids would love. You're just being nice. I'm really not. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not someone who gives false praise. Alexander looked up at her. Have you ever tried to get this published? I wouldn't even know where to start. And even if I did, I don't have time to finish it. Between working here and my other part-time job, I barely have time to sleep, let alone draw. Alexander was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. What if you could finish it? What if you had the time and resources to complete your book and pursue publication? That's a nice fantasy, but I'm serious. Alexander leaned forward. Emma, you helped me tonight. You showed me kindness when you didn't have to. You gave me a place to land when I was in free fall. Let me help you back. Let me invest in your dream. Emma's eyes widened. Alexander, I can't accept that. I was just being a decent human being. You don't owe me anything. I'm not doing it because I owe you. I'm doing it because your work is good and you deserve a chance to finish it. And because, he paused, because tonight you reminded me why I started my business in the first place. It wasn't about making money or building an empire. It was about creating something meaningful, about helping people, about making a difference. I'd forgotten that. You reminded me. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll let me help you. Alexander pulled out his phone. Give me your contact information. Not because I'm trying to pick you up, but because I want to stay in touch. I want to know how your story ends. The one in your sketchbook and the one in your life. Emma gave him her number, still stunned. They exchanged contact information, and as the sun began to rise over the harbor, Alexander stood to leave. Thank you, Emma, for everything. For the coffee, the conversation, the kindness, for treating me like a human being instead of a headline or a bank account. Thank you for trusting me with your story and for seeing mine." Over the next months, Alexander kept his word. He connected Emma with a literary agent friend. He set up a fund that would cover her living expenses while she finished her book. He checked in regularly, always respectful, always genuine. Emma quit her night shift job and her other part-time work. For the first time in 2 years, she drew every day. She finished her children's book about a little rabbit who loses her way but finds it again. She got an agent, then a publisher. Her book sold at auction to a major publishing house. Through it all, Emma and Alexander became friends. Real friends. He told her about therapy he'd started, about rebuilding trust in people, about redefining success to include personal happiness instead of just professional achievement. She told him about rediscovering her passion for art, about the joy of creating again, about learning to believe in her own talent. A year after that night in the hotel lobby, Emma's book hit the bestseller list. Alexander threw her a celebration party. As they stood on his penthouse balcony overlooking the city, Emma said, "None of this would have happened if you hadn't walked into my hotel that night. None of this would have happened if you hadn't invited me down for coffee," Alexander countered. "If you hadn't seen past the expensive suit and the headline and treated me like a person who was hurting. I'm glad you walked into my hotel that night." "So am I." Alexander turned to face her. "Emma, I need to tell you something. Over this past year, you've become one of the most important people in my life. You're genuine and kind and talented, and you see me, really see me. And He took a breath. "I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I have been since that night in the lobby. I know the timing might not be perfect, and I know I come with a lot of baggage after Catherine, but I needed you to know." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "The timing is perfect, and for the record, I've been falling in love with you too, slowly, carefully, but completely." Their first kiss tasted like possibility and second chances. They were married 2 years later. A small ceremony, just close friends and family, nothing like the elaborate affair Alexander had almost had with Catherine. Emma wore a simple dress and carried a bouquet of wildflowers. Her illustrated children's book served as their guest book, with friends and family leaving notes on the final pages. At the reception, Emma's mother gave a toast that made everyone cry. "My daughter almost gave up her dreams to save me." But then a stranger walked into a hotel lobby on the worst night of his life and saw something in her that even she had forgotten was there. He reminded her she was an artist. She reminded him he was human. And together, they both found their way home. Alexander and Emma returned to the Grand Harbor Hotel every year on their anniversary. They'd sit in that same corner of the lobby, drink coffee, and remember the night that changed everything. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd gone to a different hotel that night?" Emma asked during one of these visits. "All the time, and I'm grateful every time that my feet brought me here. To you." "To us," Emma corrected. "To two people who were lost and found each other." They sat in the quiet lobby, hands intertwined. Two people who'd each been at their lowest point and found salvation in an unexpected moment of human connection. Emma had been filling in as a hotel receptionist, just trying to survive. Alexander had been a millionaire who'd just watched his life fall apart. And in the space of one night, over cups of coffee and honest conversation, they'd saved each other. Sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes the worst night of your life leads to the best chapter. Sometimes kindness offered to a stranger becomes the foundation of everything that matters. Sometimes checking in means finding home. Emma had checked in a millionaire that night, but more importantly, she'd checked in a human being who needed to be seen and heard and reminded that he mattered beyond his money. And in doing so, she'd found someone who saw her the same way, who believed in her dreams, who loved her not for what she could provide, but for who she was. Two strangers, one night. A pot of coffee and the courage to be vulnerable. That's all it took to change two lives forever. Sometimes that's all it takes.